Hi all, I am Sahitya and my productivity software is SharePoint. First we'll see the basic idea of SharePoint and what is the reason behind the SharePoint existence. For example, the head of one of the company want to share some document with his managers. How can he share the documents with his manager? The best option is sharing through emails. If the manager is of 10 or 50, this can be possible. If he want to send a document to the people of whole organization, then it would become complex. Or if he wants to send hundreds of documents to all the people in the organization, then the situation becomes still more complex. Then sending through email is not a better option. Then at this situation, Microsoft come up with a space called SharePoint servers. Then what is SharePoint? It is a web application tool which is deployed on servers. The SharePoint platform developed by Microsoft Corporation. Coming to the different versions of the SharePoint, SharePoint first released in 2001, which integrates intranet, content management and document management but recent versions have more capabilities. This version is also called Microsoft SharePoint Portal Server 2001. The next version released in 2002, which is called Microsoft SharePoint Team Services. The third version released on 2003, which is a commercial release and also called as Microsoft SharePoint Portal Services 2003. The fourth version is also known as commercial extension release on 2007, which is called Microsoft SharePoint Server 2007, which is also known as Microsoft Office SharePoint Services. The fifth version is plus Microsoft SharePoint Server 2010, which released on 2010 for the commercial extension of Foundation and commercial extension of servers. This version is in which most of the companies are using today. And according to the Microsoft, between 2006 to 2011, Microsoft sold over 36.5 million user licenses. The sixth version is called as plus Microsoft SharePoint Server 2013, which released on 2013 for the extension on the top foundation. This version is in a testing environment that some of the companies are started deploying in their companies. Next we'll see what are the system requirements for the SharePoint. Coming to the server hardware, it requires processor as 64-bit 4-core, RAM as 106 GB for developer evaluation use and at least 24 GB for production use in one of the server or multiple server form, and hard disk of 80 GB for system drive and varies from the production environment depending upon the application size. Coming to the server software requirement, it requires OS as Windows Server 2012. It is of 64-bit standard data center or web servers, or Windows Server 2008 R2, which is of 64-bit standard enterprise data center or web servers, and Windows 7 of 64-bit or Windows Vista of 64-bit for testing or development purpose only. It also requires database servers for Microsoft SQL Server 2012 of 64-bit, which is Service Pack 1, or Microsoft SQL Server 2008 of 64-bit R2. Coming to the architecture, can be divided into two methods. One method is called standalone architecture and the other is three-tier architecture. The standalone architecture is also known as forms. As a SharePoint form is a logical grouping of SharePoint servers that share common resources. A form can also subscribe to the function from another form or provide functions to another form. Each form has its own central administration configuration database, which is managed through either a central administration website. The main purpose of this is for the lab purpose. Coming to the three-tier architecture, the three-tier architecture is divided into three layers. The first layer is called the web front-end servers, the second layer is application servers, and the third layer is content database. The web The WFE servers are more than the application servers because each hit from the user will ask WFE to perform the action. Let's see how it will work. When the user requests for any website, for example sharepoint.target.com, the request directly hit to one of the WFE servers. If the request is not related to any application, then WFE servers directly search in the content database, and content database fetch the data from its database and return back to the WFE servers, and WFE servers in turn return back to the user. Then user can access the URL sharepoint.target.com. If the user requests for any application in SharePoint like Excel, calendar, meetings, list, etc., SharePoint, then WFE server hits the app servers, and app servers will provide an application and in turn hits the content database. The content database fetch the data and return back to the application server, in turn return back to WFE servers, and from the WFE server the user can access the application. The one of the rule of architecture is to have more WFE server because 100% hits will hit to the WFE servers. Now we will see how we can create a sites. For this we need to follow a set of rules or hierarchy. The first and the basic step is to create a web application. The web application is associated with set of access mapping on URLs defined in the central management console. The web app is consisting of number of sites, and the number of sites is called as a site collection, and each site collection consisting of defined number of sites. The important property is that the policies that define to the web application can be defined to each of the web application, and these policies will be same for all the sites which present in that web application. Let's see how web application, site collection and sites look through URL. For example, we can create a web application as www.sharepoint.target.com. Under this, there is a site collection called Client Technologies, which can be accessed in the URL as sharepoint.target.com/sites/client technologies. Under this site collection, there is a number of platforms as a sites like TVS, SharePoint, Exchange, etc. This can be looks in the URL as sharepoint.target.com/sites/client technologies/TVS. Under this can be having a subsites called individual persons such as sharepoint.target.com/sites/client technologies/tvs/sahitya.default.aspx. Here in practice, target.com is a company, under that client technologies is a team, and TVS is a platform in that team, and Sahitya is a person who is working on that platform. If she want to see or upload any document, she need to log into a particular URL. All this web app, site collection, sites and the documents and other sites are stored in a content database. To store the data, Microsoft come up with two things. The first one is library and the second one is list. A library is a list where each item in the list refers to the file that's stored in the SharePoint. Library is where we can upload the documents, can having a ability to open and modify through a compatible client. This can be used in the production environment where managers will upload their PPTs, documents regarding the platform. The libraries can be divided into three categories. There are document library, picture library, form library. Coming to the lists are like a Excel kind of exit where collecting same kind of data. For example, contact list. If a company having a team, the team is having a contact list in a SharePoint. Whenever the new person is added to the team, they can access this contact list and they need to update in this contact list. In the contact list, all the all having the same kind of data like a name, phone number, but it will be keep on updating whenever the new things has been added. The list can be divided into 4 categories. Contact list were defined with a predefined templates. Second thing is links where can be stored important links. Third thing is a calendar, and fourth one is project task. There will be a predefined templates on the list that can be used for storing the data. Coming to the SharePoint tool, which is Central Administration tool. Using this tool, administrator can create a sites collection and can also manage sites collection. This Central Administration tool is one of the web application server tool in which the administrators can able to manage and create sites and site collections. The administrator who is managing a whole server and a sites collection is called a form administrator, and the administrator who is managing the site collection, they are called as site collection admins. If site collection admin is not able to resolve any issues related to the site collection, then he can go for the form administrator. In the Central Administration tool, using a application management, we can create a sites on the site collection. Clicking on the application management tool, we'll get an option to create a site collection. Once you click on the option called create a site collection, it will ask for the name that used to be in the site collection URL. Once you click on to the URL name and next, you will be done with the site collection. We can also give a permission to the sites and the site collection or the users that is defined in that sites. The permissions can be given to users and also to the teams. If the permissions are given to the teams, then the users defined in the teams will be having a same set of permissions. The assigning of permissions will be done by the form administrators. The permissions are of 3 types, that is full control, contribute and read. Coming to the important feature of the Microsoft SharePoint 2010 version, it is fast server architecture in 2010. In Microsoft SharePoint 2010 version, the Microsoft added an extra feature into the architecture called fast search. The purpose of this to fetch data very fastly when we search for any data. The fast architecture joined with the SharePoint architecture, and the fast architecture connected to the fast servers. The fast servers are of 2 components called crawlers and indices. This works like this. When any entry uploaded to the content database, the crawlers check into the content database and indices make an entry in the index. Then when the user search for any document, the request hits to the WFE, and then WFE checks in the index and returns the data from the content database through the index. As it searches through the index, the fast search is much more faster. Coming to the advantages and the disadvantages of the SharePoint. Advantages: the user can add easily and new functionalities to the SharePoint system, and can also upgrade supports are available to the users. The biggest advantages for the administrator of SharePoint system is to control. The admin can monitor the apps. The end user purpose for installing is very simple. Coming to the disadvantages, the app's infrastructure is very clunky and some cases unrealistic to implement. Apps are very primitive and rudimentary. A corporate catalog is paid and needs to be purchased. Coming to the references, I gone through the wikipedia.org and see sharecorner.com. Thank you.